The rates of botched hair procedures is rising. Doctors are urging patients...
You mean like
transplants?
transplants?
Yeah, transplants. Yeah. And doctors saying you've got to do your homework before you undergo a hair transplant.
OK.
Because there are a lot of rogues out there.
So, you see, in the news, there's a story about how one London clinic was ordered to pay £15,000 in compensation to a patient who claimed he was left with a bad and uneven hairline following a procedure 5 years ago. So what should you be looking for? Let's meet Spencer Stevenson. Spencer has spent a lot of money. We're going to find out how much in just a moment to get that head of hair. And a very good head. We have a baldy director this morning, actually, who just cut off from that shot. It's obviously hair envy that we're going. Could we please see Spencer there? That is a lot of money. How much money to get that hair, Spencer?
Approximately about £40,000 to get this thick head of hair.
Ooh. And several procedures.
Ooh. Alongside Spencer, we have the clinical director of Harley Street Hair Clinic, Dr Greg Vida, about this, and he has a few warnings. But first of all, Doctor, before we come to you, let's go to Spencer and find out the story of spending £40,000. You look really well. Your hair loss happened. You were quite young when this happened. Is this £40,000 you regret spending, you are envious of spending? What's your view towards what you've spent and what you've achieved?
Well, firstly, I started to lose my hair at the tender age of 21, so it had a huge psychological effect on me. And as a result of kind of jumping in with both feet early on, I had a number of poor procedures. So I was kind of in the rabbit's kind of warren, and I had to kind of find a way and navigate a way to get out of it. But that in turn cost me a number of a great deal of time and a great deal of money. But fortunately for me, now I do sport a full head of hair, and retrospectively, I would do it again. I feel it's a valid investment in my own self-image. Hair loss affects people very differently, but what I tend to find is, and I run a popular blog, that many people are kind of traumatized via the psychological aspects of hair loss. And when I started to lose my hair, I felt it was just me. I felt I was very alone and suffering in silence. And it's for me a very good investment. I find it's enabled me to live my life the way I want to live it without being so consumed by hair loss, which I find many people are. It's a multi-billion-pound industry at the end of the day for a reason. The demand is there, and sadly, it's become a commodity, as you referred to, and there's a lot of bodged hair transplants now, trying to capitalize on the vulnerable and the desperate.
OK, and people are vulnerable and desperate, Dr Vida, on all of this. And in fairness, Spencer's journey over 25 years or so, the whole technique must have evolved and improved greatly in that time.
That's true. So when he started off having hair transplant, probably the technique was not so advanced as now. But his case takes us to the subject that should we venturing ourselves to get a hair transplant without being properly educated? Probably it was the whole industry was just booming, was starting off, and his case is basically very, very important. We just want to invite young lads, as specs used to be, into a conversation, into some sort of exchange of thoughts where we could share our ideas, our ethos, and our experience with them, so that they could potentially...
Can I ask Dr Vida, how much of your work now is correcting hair transplants that have gone wrong?
It is... I can't tell you exact percentage, but this is not really the pressing issue. The most important thing is over the years, we've been experiencing increasing number of those patients that's coming to us for the purpose of a repair session. And that was, we reached a point where we said further education, further discussion, conversation needs to come into play, and we need to involve more education in this.
I think, Spencer, probably when you did this 20-odd years ago, it would have been considered a lot of stigma around men talking about hair loss and not being happy with hair loss. And that has changed, fortunately, because of people like you. So talk through what people should be doing if they are thinking of having a hair transplant. Everyone says go to a reputable surgeon. How do you know who the reputable surgeons or clinics are?
No, that's a really good question. And opening up a dialogue, essentially, with clinics. But education is key. We run a very popular radio show called The Bald Truth, where people can call in and discuss their kind of issues surrounding hair loss. But finding a good, ethical clinic is, there's a great organization, the International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons, which is a great starting point. You know, there's various great resources out there. Ironically, I wrote a very heavily trafficked article for one of the mainstream media blogs called the top 25 hair transplant surgeons in the world. However, it's not about the list as such. It was about the message of getting educated and informed and empowered to remove the vulnerability and make sure that patients that do venture into a hair transplant know what they're getting into. Because the key to a successful hair transplant, ironically, is preventing further loss of your existing situation by proven treatments. And any ethical clinic should really much be kind of, you know, voicing that to the patients, because surgery is a last resort and patients do truly need to get, you know, educated. And there are great resources out there for patients, because it's a plethora, it's a minefield currently, the industry, with regards to what people should do because of social media.
It's very popular, Spencer, and people want to know basically, how much does it cost and does it hurt?
It does not hurt. He says it's as painful as going to the dentist, you know. It doesn't hurt. There's slight discomfort. You're in the chair for approximately 8 to 10 hours. What does it cost? How long is a piece of string, Eamonn? You know, at the end of the day, it's depending on the patient's requirements and the amount of loss that that patient has. On average, the average hair transplant with a very ethical, good clinic would be anywhere in the region, like I have just had there, would be anywhere in the region of £5,000 to £8,000 in the hairline. But it can obviously increase depending on the demand and depending on the requirements of that individual patient.
You have to have more than one transplant?
Indeed, nobody just gets one hair transplant, you know, depending on if the requirements are very small, then maybe. But people need to be educated, and ethical clinics will advise that, you know, you have to be prepared for the mid and long-term implications of this. And, you know, I'm very much heavily involved in the industry for educating as an independent advisor. And there's an upcoming global hair loss summit where doctors are getting educated to enable people to get doctors educated and doctors trained correctly, because the epidemic that we currently deal with is not, there's clinics operating that actually technicians are doing the procedures and not doctors, which in turn is only sadly going to enable patients to get a less than satisfactory result, which is...
And Dr. Vida, do you agree with what Spencer is saying?
Actually, I couldn't have summarized better than him. Reputable clinics and just really the few words what he said about the preventive measures as medication, very, very important thing. Surgery is really the last resort, but it's a very important thing. And the first procedure is really a big commitment, and education is paramount. We need to talk, we need to have conversations, and we need to prevent young lads, young patients from making uninformed decision that they might regret in the future. We really need to share our experience with them.
Okay, guys,
well, thank you for talking to us about it today
and
educating us, Spencer, particularly you, because you've been through it. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.